I find something very distinct coming out. That in those days, when we had detention without trial, it appears that it was safer. Because if the state had no way of taking you to court, they would take you to prison and detain you without trial. But this regime seems to have another type of detention, which is killing. You know, I expect in those days, someone like Ngodo Kariku was detained for several years, may have been killed. But in the absence of detention without trial, now I see this regime is just taking people to heaven. So that's something very new about this regime. Another aspect of this regime, which I find special, is that while the Kenyatta and Moi administration mainly targeted leaders for killing, this particular regime targets young people. You know, more young people have been killed by these people compared to maybe us. In the regimes of Moi, maybe they would have killed us and spared our children. But now, this regime is killing the future. I find this a very special thing. We didn't make one call, which I think maybe ought to be added, that a regime that has committed crimes to these degrees has no business staying in office. I think the Ruto administration should have the courage to just step aside and give Kenyans a chance to administer themselves. And I think in this forum also I wish to say that the comrades who have maybe tried to see whether they can work with this regime should also reconsider their position. Why should the opposition have a joint team in managing our affairs when the other party is not honoring its end of the bargain? So I also think that it's our duty to appeal to comrades who are working with the Ruto administration to basically disengage and give Kenyans a chance to really choose a new administration. Because as things stand now, the Ruto administration is in office just because ODM supports it. If ODM moves out, Kenyans can start looking for a solution. So I also want to appeal that this government is denied the support that it's getting from patriotic people so that we can create the necessary situation for us to think of how to form a new government. Thank you.
The oxygen of freedom has been polluted. And these have forced the second liberators to come out to address the nation and to tell the current regime that they should not dare take Kenyans back where they have come from. Kenyans have come from dark days, but the current administration is not holding to the principles of human rights, democracy, and the right to opinion. And what could have been seen as a pressure to force ODM out of their work relationship with the UDA administration, the former political prisoners led by Gitobu Imanyara and Oduoro Ngwen today issued a statement loaded with demands to the president and the current regime.
Such provision in our constitution or in our law as we sit here today, providing for a constitution office holder to step aside. There isn't, unless an investigation is already in progress. So that, for example, if it's a judge, the moment the Judicial Service Commission...
You know, when I listen to what these old politicians were speaking about, what Ruto is doing now is reminding them of the old days. It's reminding them the struggle they went through to make Kenya what is it today. What is happening to this country today is reviving the spirit of liberation. And what they have gained, they are losing in their own eyes and in their lifetime. But they are sending a message and a warning that they can't sit pretty and see Kenya going back to the old days and to the dogs. They were referring to the recent incident, which has been overspoken about and has also led to the current protest that we are seeing in this country today. And during their pressure, these are the issues they reminded us or demanded from this regime. The first thing they told the president and Kenya Kwanza administration that Eliud Lagat should not step aside. He should be either suspended, step down, or resign. And not only resign, be investigated and to be prosecuted over the allegation linking him to the death of one Albert Ojwang. They are saying that those heinous acts were perpetrated during Moi's regime, and they would never sit pretty seeing anyone doing such things and walk scot-free and enjoy the freedom which they deny others to enjoy. Another thing which this team spoke about equivocally is that the ODM, which they considered the comrades to disengage President William Ruto, because it is the ODM party that is giving William Ruto legitimacy to stay in the office, or else William Ruto's regime had been overrun, and the regime was overrun this way, that on 25th June 2024, the citizens of this country, led by the young generation of the Gen Zs, walked into the parliament, which is the arm of the government, and took over and hold that government, that parliament hostage for some time. That was a clear indication that the government was overrun. Number two, they said that after this, William Ruto dissolved the executive, another sign or evidence that the government was overrun. Now, they are asking ODM to disengage this government to give Kenyans a chance to elect a new regime. They also reminded Kenya that on 25th of this month will be a red letter day for this country, because it is the day that the Gen Zs overran the government and made history. So, putting all these things together is a clear indication that this generation of the former political prisoners are fed up, and they cannot sit pretty seeing what they had gained getting lost. Because, for example, when they compared this regime and the regime they fought, there are some differences, and when they compare the two. For example, they said that during Kenyatta and Moi, the regime was not targeting young people. but the regime was targeting old people. But in this regime, they are not killing leaders, but they are killing young people. Another thing which they said is that this regime is killing young people, and during their time, there was detention without trial, sorry. But in this one, there is no detention without trial, but there is abduction and killing. These are some of the things that this team feels like should be addressed and be addressed properly. Now, while these old political leaders and detainees were addressing the nation, there was demonstration or protest that was going on in the CBD. But it is sad that one person had been killed again. A peaceful protest had turned into bloody and messy. There are casualties of this protest because, number one, it started as if the protesters were dealing with those goons who were placed inside them to cause chaos and robbery. But later on, it is reported that a police officer shot a civilian on the head and that person died instantly. A sad situation. So it is a time when Kenyans or the regime will have to do just exactly as they are asked to do the honorable thing by asking the man whom his name has been largely mentioned to resign and to appear before the IPOA for some questioning. Thank you, and may God bless you.